What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology, the Titans action. Spawning in the bottom of the map in the red color, playing as the God of Mischief himself. His name is completely broke, but we know him better as Shelty, the Shelton Snake. No, Shelton, the Shelty Snake. No. Shelty the Snake Shelton. Let's get it right. All right, his opponent today in the blue color, playing as Loki as well, also up to no good. I solemnly swear that I know what I'm talking about. Right, his name is the Rapl. Yes, we have the Rapl playing against Shelty. On a map we don't get to see very often. This is Arctic Craters. I love this map. It's really big. It's a really, really big map. So gods which have movement speed advantage do much better on this map as opposed to other maps. So gods like Uranus do well here. Loki does well here. Zeus to some extent does well here. Or Odin does well. Norse do well here. This is a very Norse-centric map. It's actually a heavily counter Ra map as well, for a lot of reasons, being that these gold mines always spawn towards the edges of your base, meaning that you can plant archers at the top of this hill and shoot down on the villages that are mining. It can be very difficult to defend that. So there's very few anti-god maps in this pool, and given that this is one, it clearly means that the players who are playing didn't want to see any Egyptian, didn't want to see any defensive play. They want to have some fun in this game, and we will see some fun, some fireworks. It's a Loki mirror. Loki mirrors are almost what's the word? Infamous for the almost coin flip nature that comes with them. You flip a coin, heads you win, tails you lose at the top level. Reason being, myth unit spawns are random. So it's not necessarily a coin, it's more like you flip a three-sided coin and heads beats tails beats side beats heads, but not really, because heads is the best and tails is the second best, and on the side is the worst. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, clearly you need to look into Norse metagaming. Oh, not Norse metagaming, just Norse meta in general to know exactly which myth unit. Actually, better yet, you can look at the tier list and you can decide for yourself which myth unit I'm talking about being the worst and which one is the best and which one is the middle. They all have their own situational benefit, but I think in the Norse mirror we have that. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to go look at the video. Ha! More views. I'm kidding, but seriously, enjoy life. We got 4 Shelty coming through, 4 completely broke over here, Shelty, and 4 Rapl. He's still not advancing, going a little bit later. I don't think there's much wrong with advancing late on this map in this matchup, given that you're going to be building Hersa out of your temple no matter what. The first person who advances is probably not going to get too much damage done in the 15 seconds. So advancing a little bit later on purpose here nets you a little bit more resource to use. It's actually not a bad idea to do this unless you're going for a rush, in which case if you go for a rush, obviously advancing first, building forward is going to be able to mitigate those things. Yes, very true. So, but both of these players going for Shelty, so both going for the Hall of Thanes style. In fact, both players did indeed advance at exactly the same time with exactly the same amount of villages. And are we exactly the same technologies? Exactly the same technologies. So, no differences here. But Shelty is one Hersa in front at this point, as I think maybe Rapl had a little bit more walking time in the early game for his food or something. I'm not sure. But we're going to be seeing the fireworks starting very shortly. Now, being aggressive early in this matchup is normally not the best, but this relic is huge that Shelty's just walked past. I'm fairly sure this impacts your Hersers as well. So an extra 5% hack armor goes a long way. As the Herser coming in, these Herser are going to get a couple of hits on. Spy coming down onto one of those Herser. Nice play. gets the first couple of hits there onto Jarl Manbender before leaving. And he's going to be heading back home, possibly throwing up a healing spring soon, as we've already seen that by Rapl. But Rapl, unfortunately, bringing his Hersa out of range of said healing spring. So very, very sad. What can you do? Alrighty, so we do see that Armor of Achilles is actually going Rapl's wayside. So I will see if it actually does affect the Hersa or not if he puts it into his temple. Regardless, it's good because you're going to be making some throwing axemen in this matchup, and every single unit that the Norse has on Voobly on the OG game basically does hack damage. With the exception is Ballister and Trolls and Bogsweiger for you EE players out there. Yes. So we'll see how that's all going to go. More units coming through. Population is equal at this point. Favor definitely is in front for by 1 for Shelty here, but both players getting Hall of Thanes at about the same time. Completely standard here thus far. But 5 Hersa to 4 Hersa means the Hersa have to run. So we're not going to see too much fighting here. Oftentimes in this matchup, we see a lot of running around, not trying to actually fight. And you actually want to try and pick off villages as best as you can while defending your own villages. So getting 2 separate groups of Hersa and running around and trying to snipe villages, and that is actually really, really smart, especially with the spy situation. So if you can kind of work out which unit was spied early game, you know where your opponent's going, and you can kind of prepare to defend nicely. As Shelty is going to be wandering around the map looking maybe down below, but there are some very, very nice safe hunt back here that Rapl's got. He's got both the caribou and the elk over here and the woodline back here. We see the Hersa making a move forward. The Hersa for Shelty going to be coming back. There are already a few Hersa back here, but Rapl could take that fight and live the dream there if he so chose. Did he put the relic in? He did put the relic in, and unfortunately for the Loki players, it doesn't give it to the Hersa, just to your infantry, even though that Norse infantry is kind of hero infantry, kind of close. Anyways, Archer and Ballister, Cara Ballister gets picked up here for Rapl. That's going to help his trolls only, I believe. I don't think it actually helps the throwing axemen for whatever reason. We do see a lot of dwarves on this gold mine for Shelty as the Hersa moving in. You've got to be a little bit careful with these fights, but he's going to be taking it underneath the town center here as the fight is ensuing. One of these Hersa are very much out of position. We'll see if Shelty's going to be able to notice that. He does. Puts that into his tower. Going to be picking off these units nicely. One Hersa has fallen for Rapl as Shelty's taking this fight very, very nicely, but he gets the Iron Heel spawn, but for some reason decides to retreat at the end of that mid-horn blow, and that actually means that Shelty comes out super far in front on that fight. Had Rapl continued to fight that, he would have got so much more favor there because he had the bonus. We are seeing the Hersa coming in. We've got ourselves 7 Hersa to 8 Hersa, so still very close over here. 8 Hersa apiece now. The Hersa are going to be attempting to take down this ox cart now. It's all about micro in these fights. Very low amounts of Hersa means that the micro can come forth and do a lot of very good damage. We do see a troll spawn there for Rapl. A little bit unfortunate. He does have 2 trolls here that can take down potential myth unit spawns for Shelty. As Shelty's actually pop blocked here, so he's not got his spawn. He's going to lose 1 Hersa and potentially get his spawn on the next hammer throw that he's got population available to produce that. If you're unaware of how the Hersa spawn mechanic works, that's how it works. You need population space and you need the favor built up. As we do see these Hersa very much caught out. This is huge for Rapl. These Hersa cannot get out through this location. The village is blocking this path as Shelty is panicking here, throwing those units away, gets his Valkyrie spawn, and a Valkyrie spawn from Rapl comes in. The ghost buildings down here from Shelty have been out of this, from Rapl have been out of this world in this game right now. He picks off all those Hersa. Huge population advantage for Rapl. He's going to need to heal those Hersa back up. He is taking a fight in the middle of the map that is going his way as well, though he does lose 1 Hersa as Shelty going to be retreating back home. We see the armory coming up here. Rapl is going full population Hersa. Shelty is going to attempt to get to the heroic age, and this really, really matters because what Shelty's done here is he's got his towers up already, so he doesn't necessarily need more units. He can sit on this gold mine at the back. He doesn't really have many places he needs to defend. We do have the Hersa coming in on this side here. Can look to hit these food gathering positions here as these other Hersa are going to be moving forward. I've seen this happen quite a lot, especially with like players like Nullus, Hero OP, these people who are very, very strong Norse players, or Loki players in particular. One player goes for the semi-fast strike and the other player goes for max Hersa, and it does really come down to the timing and getting a sense for when your opponent is clicking up. Right now, Shelty clicking up through Bragging first. Rapl isn't going to be that far behind him, though he is already full population, so he's got a big, big advantage where that is concerned. And now we see the Hersa swinging around the bottom side here, but we've got Shelty. He notices this one. The tower going to be the target first. Probably could have picked off a dwarf there, but picking off this tower does open this gold mine up just a little bit. Both players clicking up Bragi. We do have a maybe 30-second, 25-second advantage for Shelty. So we'll see if that's going to matter at all. While Rapl throwing away some Hersa here, trying to finish off that watchtower. Watchtower with 36 HP remaining. See if Shelty's going to repair that one back up, because it's kind of left there in a state that doesn't do all too much. Couple of whacks there from Rappl's Hersa will finish that one off, as now we're seeing Shelty make a strong move forward with his Hersa. He knows he's got flaming weapons. He knows he's got a little bit of advantage where that's concerned. Both players not investing in copper mail just yet is, I would say, a slight mistake, if not maybe a massive mistake from both players. As you click up to the heroic age, or even before, getting that copper mail really plays a big role in these fights, limiting the amount of damage your opponent can do to your units, therefore limiting the favor that comes in, therefore limiting the myth unit spawns. See myth unit spawn there for Shelty as Bragi does come in, but lots of low HP Hersa here that Shelty is going to want to kill, whereas Rapl wants to heal them back up but doesn't really have the time to do that. So Shelty's feeling like time to take this fight. Flaming weapons coming down for both players, I would assume, as a couple of seconds behind for Rapl, but he does get that one off as his units are starting to fight. Population is still very high for both players, as it is seemingly looking like this fight going very heavily in favor of Rapl as this fight is continuing. Shelty's population is plummeting here. Getting a Frost Giant spawn is absolutely huge for Rapl in this game, but the Mountain Giant going after the main town center here. Shelty's forces drop down to nearly under 70 population, as he's going to have to get out of there. And Rapl sending the Frost Giant over here to clean this Mountain Giant up, and does indeed do. That was a strange interaction, but he does indeed do so as the Mountain Giant gets frozen there and will indeed fall, as now Rapl wants to continue fighting. But again, lots of low HP Hersa here. Use that healing spring, get them back up to full HP, live the dream. Still, it looks like neither player investing in that armor upgrade. So no advantages where that's concerned. And now we see Shelty making the tried and true mistake, in a way, of dwarves on farms. You don't want to do this. This is very slow resource income on these farms. You can see they're farming at 0.53, which is a full 13 behind. Or hold on, what's a gatherer at? 0.53. Oh, that's a lot. That's like 6.16 behind a gatherer, and things really start mattering where that's concerned. It's actually better to build yourself a market and put those dwarves onto gold and try and get yourself to the mythic age. And that's what we're seeing Rapl attempt to do here. He's not throwing down his farms. He's got a couple of farms here, but he has a market up. He's getting close to the next age. He's cut production on all his barracks. He is making an aggressive move on the back location here, and Shelty is completely out of position where this is concerned. Going after these units, we'll see if Rapl can pick them all off or not. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult, but it is seemingly looking like these units are going to be falling. We see a troll spawn there to help out. There's a couple of myth units coming in for Shelty. Hell coming through for Rapl. The villagers making a break for this gate right here, as Rapl does not pick them all off, but he gets a very, very strong amount of damage done onto Shelty's economy here. Is now Shelty making his way up to the top corner here, breaking through this gate, going to be trying to find something to attack, but unfortunately for Shelty, there is nothing behind this gate. All the villagers sitting on this wood line can very easily escape as soon as the gate falls. You can just bring these wood villagers back in, or through this wooden wall onto this location here would be fine. Over here we are seeing Couple of picks here for Shelty as Rapl's retreating back. But with Rapl hitting health first, the question really becomes where to attack. And I'm telling you, if he can get a gold staff here, it's very, very big. But he does lose his temple. Losing his temple, he doesn't have another temple. He's trying to get it up as fast as he can. Hell is at 62, so he will get that fire giant. That was a really smart snipe there by Shelty, but it doesn't end up managing to matter all too much as the temple... As we said, the trolls all getting deleted there by Rapl, but the temple will get up and we will be seeing the fire giants coming through for Rapl. The question is, do you even bother with fire giants here? Because you've got so many Herser that maybe it's just not worth it. Maybe better to just get those frost giants to freeze stuff. So we are still seeing these buildings getting taken down as we see the battle boars wandering in, and we might actually have to see a defensive Nidhogg get thrown down here as the units trying to bail back. But look at this, how many low HP Ursa do we have here? A whole metric shit ton of them. As the Herser are coming back in there, it is advantage Mythic Age Rapl here. So his Herser going to do more damage, going to be able to tank for longer. The town center, however, going down is going to be a big, big issue. For some reason, not casting that Nidhogg. Rapl has been making a very big mistake here as the fire giants coming in. The Nidhogg could have done a whole bunch of damage to the battle board. Does have that bonus versus myth units, like every myth unit does have. At least I think that's true. As the battle board fighting, but getting picked off, and now Rapl has to retreat back. The dwarves over here have found themselves a gold mine, so they can start mining that fairly soon. The Herser here for Shelty, attempting to surround these units, going to pick off all those fire giant. And like I said, not that big of a deal to be making those fire giant in this point here, as the Nidhogg does come through. Will start getting that splash damage. Look at that damage there onto those dwarves, as the dwarves are getting absolutely cooked alive. Look at them getting picked off there. The Nidhogg does move faster than these dwarves, but for some reason it's seemingly looking like the dwarves are able to run away here. See a little bit more splash damage done as the Nidhogg runs into the enemy base, taking a lot of damage from those towers. We'll have to retreat back. Remember, Shelty does also have a potential Nidhogg that he can be making in the future, as Rapl trying to take this fight here, gets a frost giant spawn. If you can get that frost giant to just hit one of those myth units, that's very, very good. Starting to see those Herser moving across the map, looking for the resources of Rapl, as Shelty is trying his darnest to get back into this game. As we see the frost giants here helping out Rapl a lot, and Rapl desperately is going to be wanting to get his town center back here, especially considering he is about to lose a whole bunch of villagers to this raid that Shelty is executing here. The Nidhogg still flying through the middle of the map. He does not know about this gold mine over here. This would be a huge raid for his Nidhogg, but he doesn't know about it. As we're seeing over here, the Herser and Rapl seemingly have cleaned this all up. The dwarves having to retreat off of this gold mine right now, but the villagers over here still very much alive, and they can actually move forward and eat these caribou in this corner as well. Can be very, very good. And there's the Iron Here going down. The mountain giants that have cleaned up the military buildings of Rapl going down as well. Rapl a little bit short on the gold now, a little bit too short on the gold to get that town center back up. Is he still making fire giant? No, he is not. Temple getting taken down on that position. Shelty with 700 wood in the bank, and his villagers here need to get onto that food. It's very important not to overgather wood here. Just continue eating the hunt if you can. We do see this Nidhogg has followed the dwarves into the corner of the map here as he catches up, and he's going to get a big amount of damage done onto these dwarves, and in fact pick up the vast majority of those, including the ox cart. That's a big find there for Rapl, as now the villagers moving onto this location, onto these boars, onto this gold over here. Lots of low HP dwarves there as well that Rapl could potentially find. He has moved on to this gold mine now, as the Herser now starting to move forward over here. Villager count 35 to 38. Both players with very low villagers. Both players underneath 100 population here. Even though Shelty's got the town center, he cannot get that population up. So we do see some Herser and a battle boar in the main base of Rapl here, going after that sentry tower, going after the Ox Cart. But there is a very, very nice wall longhouse situation going on here for Rapl, so he can retreat through here, bring some units back, defend against that raid, look to hit some raids over here. We've got the Hearser chasing these units in. The Nidhogg going to be flying over onto this gold over here, I would assume, if he knows it's there. Meanwhile, Lone Mountain Giant taking down houses in the base of Shelty, as both players are getting absolutely totaled in this game, as the aggression is so absolutely real. The Ox Cart getting taken down. Rapl needs to be careful here that he does get a town center, because he's only got 2 Ox Carts remaining in this game. So we see the Ursa moving over here, have found these villages, do push off that hunt. The dwarves sneaking around the corner. There will 110% be a gold mine somewhere over here. In fact, there is in the very deep corner of the map here. There's more Hearser coming out for Shelty, trying to figure something out. And Rapl does manage to get a big amount of splash damage onto these villages that are escaping right now, and they're not going to be able to pick them all off. Big amounts of damage though. More villages falling, as Rapple's got to be happy with that raid. 37 to 35 villages, still very, very close. Nice micro here from Rapl, still keeping his dwarves alive and intact, but not mining at this point. Still not able to get his town center back. The villagers over here sitting very, very precariously placed, and they do in fact get spotted. This is a big, big raid now for Shelty. If he can take this down, it's going to be absolutely huge. He kills off the Ox Cart. 1 Ox Cart remaining. 1 Ox Cart remaining for Rapl. Rapl with next to no resources in the bank. All the villagers coming in onto this position to drop off into this Ox Cart over here. This is it. If Shelty knows that this is the last Ox Cart, it might be game over, but there is a town center now coming up for Rapl, so he might have some way to continue in this game. Even after losing all his Ox Carts, the dwarves have found this gold mine over here. The Nidhogg still flying around, trying to find a gold mine that is being gathered from. Every single moment that Shelty is getting gold in this game is absolutely huge. Both players actually at 100 maximum population right now, as Shelty's lost a couple of houses in this game, as the villagers trying to mine this gold, trying to continue that income. But 29 villages for Rapl to 40 villages for Shelty, as the Nidhogg flying over that gold mine sees nothing remaining there. You're going to have to send a Hearser somewhere, some way, try and find the final gold mine, because there's definitely, I think there might be even 2 gold mines over here. One here, one here that he needs to have an eye on. And these top players are incredibly good at sneaking gold mines, as we do see the Nidhogg coming back in to help out. He does have that negative 90 damage versus heroes, so using him on top of these Hearser, while it does a decent amount of damage because it does splash damage, it's a very sad amount of damage when you consider how much he would normally do to, say, like a group of throwing axemen or something like that. But you do have to be making sure he's doing that splash damage, as the army starting to clash in the middle. 29 population remaining. We do see the Olafsarg not actually able to get the town center up here, as a stray mountain giant does make his way in here. The Hearser here going to be moving around the map, trying to prevent that town center from coming back up. Nidhogg trying to take down the battle ball. I think I said that the Nidhogg does bonus damage against myth units. That was a lie. I think what actually ends up happening is, because of the crush damage that the Nidhogg does, 40 crush damage, which normally seems like it would only do 1 damage to a regular unit, ends up mattering because you've got 80% 80% crush armor instead of 99% crush armor. So it does a lot of damage to those myth units. As we see the Nidhogg now flying over here, still not finding the gold mine. 1 Fenris Wolfroot is not going to be enough to really do all too much, as the Hearser are finding their way over onto this gold mine here. The villagers pulling back over here through the wall, keeping themselves safe. The Hearser trying to fight on this position. Shelty does decide to turn around and continue this fight. Town center over here has been decidedly told, you are not allowed to build this town center, as the Frost Giant and the Olafsarg trying to finish this guy off. I would just take a handful of units and try and get my town center back, as the Hearser moving in to fight each other. This is a big, big fight now for Rapl, as he's continuing to trade really nicely. He still hasn't managed to scout that corner gold mine. I would say unlucky, but you got to know the map spawns. Golds spawn everywhere. At the moment, he's probably counted how many large gold mines there are, and feels like maybe Shelty is just in his main base not doing anything. But meanwhile, we see Hearser over here taking this fight. Big mountain giant spawn here to help out. The battle balls immediately going after this bad boy here. So these units still fighting. Remember, the Mythic Age Hearser effectively mean that these are heavy Hearser for Shelty versus champion Hearser for for Rapl. So Rapl wins these fights fairly hard. He gets a Fire Giant spawn as well, as the Mountain Giant is going to be coming back over onto this position to deny the town center yet again. And still Rapl has not found the gold for Shelty. He is scouting around with a goat even. He might actually see this gold mine over here in this corner at some point here, as now we've got Shelty moving around. He's trying to get in. The ox cart makes a dash for it there through the gate, as Rapl realizes he still knows it's important. He's got a lot of advantage here. Just throw up a town center somewhere with a whole bunch of units would be a way to go here, as the Ursa now going to finish off this Mountain Giant. The Mountain Giant does turn around and denies this town center yet again here, but will indeed fall, as this game is somehow, some way still continuing here. Shelty is starting to creep up on that villager count. I'm sure his farms, look at these farms, they're so disgustingly badly placed, but that's what happens when you're Norse. You need to kind of get an ox cart here and maybe get some more food income from those, but he's not able to do so. Does he have irrigation yet? He doesn't have irrigation, so his food income's really, really low. Definitely needs to think about getting that one, as his Ursa is still going to be losing these fights here. Rapl has managed to invest into chainmail as well, so not only does he have the champion Hursa over heavy Hursa, he's also got copper mail, as we do see this Fenris Wolf has spotted this gold mine and will indeed move down and check this corner as well to see this, and he might be incredibly frustrated to see said gold mine being there, because he thinks he's been gold starving for this entire time and that Shelty has been having to buy gold, but that is not the case. He's missed it again. There's a black spot here. Let's check out Rappl's perspective. He's missed it again. It's a big black spot in this corner. He's got a big black spot over here. He's got a big black spot over here. He's just so close to seeing it, but he does not know it's there, and he is not going to be able to do what he needs to do in order to finish Shelty off in this game. We've still got units in the main base of Rapl, who is in the 25th minute here after about 10 minutes in this game, going to be getting his town center back. We do see one Hursa coming over here. Can he get himself a Mountain Giant spawn? I don't think you get any favor for attacking a settlement though, so no Mountain Giant spawn. Not going to be able to prevent that town center from going from going up, and now the villagers making their way over onto this gold mine. We'll see if Rapl sets up some defensive situation here with some walls or something like that, but he's just going to sit on this gold mine, and that means that Shelty can continue to raid this one. We do have hell through now for Shelty, so he's going to be able to have something to deal with this Nidhogg, or better yet, prevent Rapl from mining gold here in this game. With a 25 villager advantage, Shelty's got a huge chance here to win this game. However, he's continuously throwing away these units. He does finally pick up that ox cart, but is it too little too late? The town center is up. The ox carts are getting produced. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rapl build 4 or 5 ox carts here, because, like, why not? Has all the units getting picked up over here. The Hursa for Rapl doing nicely on this position. Second town center now coming through for Shelty. He's got all the resources in the world. He's getting copper weapons, which if you follow what I think about upgrades, I think copper weapons is one of those upgrades you can kind of leave for a little bit. Definitely those armor upgrades are much more important. I'd rather spend my resources on bronze mail over copper weapons, copper mail in this matchup, just because of the way that armor works. You get a more effective HP than DPS increase for the most part. As we see Rapl now moving back in, and he's got to be scratching his head, because he's like, where could the gold mine be? I mean, it could be in maybe one position only, considering the map, or it could be over here, I guess, but over here he sees this gold mine. He knows there's an odd amount of gold mines if you wanted to count them. Sometimes you can forget to do that. This Hursa over here suffering a relatively slow death, but he's going to be running away from the Nidhogg, as you see a temple coming up on this position. The Hursa still trying to defend here. Shelty's got 140 population. Rapple's got 115 population. The Nidhogg getting cast on this fight, though. We do have Fire Giants, so the Fire Giants will be able to take this Nidhogg down actually really, really fast, as the Hursa swinging around the back here. Lots of damage being done here. Now the villagers will have to be pulled off of this gold mine. The best way to combat a Nidhogg for the most part is to separate your villagers, your gold gathering villagers, into multiple different locations. situations here as the fight is continuing and seemingly going the wayside of Shelty here. He's got such a huge population advantage here, and now that he's gotten himself the armory upgrades, leveled the playing field with his mythic age, those Hersa for himself are able to completely destroy Rapl's Hersa. And after being one town center for so long, the villager lead that Shelty has managed to amass here is too much, and attempting to retreat away as we see attempted ghost buildings here by Shelty to block these Hersa in and continue the fight and take this win. We see the Nidhogg returning for Rapl, but I'm sure Shelty's got a Fire Giant here, and he does indeed have that one, so he can use this Fire Giant to take down the enemy Nidhogg, as his own Nidhogg is taking down some of those dwarves, as now Rapl is down to 16 villagers. Not only 16 villagers, but no farms to boot here, as the ox cart gets taken down. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you never give up, never surrender. You never know when your opponent is not going to scout the corner of a map. There was that moment in the early stages of the game here where Rapl picked off the vast majority of Shelty's army, had such a huge advantage from that point, and managed to get to the Mythic Age first because of it. And that would have meant, as we see in the 29th minute here, Rapl, hand in his face, I am sure, face in his hands, I am sure, due to throwing this game, he had such a huge advantage. But one gold mine not scouted gives your opponent a fighting chance, regardless of town center or not. And Shelty somehow, someway manages to make this game winnable here, as, I mean, we can see it from the observer situation very easily that there's a gold mine there, but sometimes you just, in the heat of the moment, you just can't get it, and he's going to resign, he's going to see it there, and he's going to be so infuriated with himself, but Shelty gets the dub. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next game.